Okay guys, welcome to my first video on C# forms. So this is going to take us through the very basics of forms, and we're just going to start from scratch. So what we're going to do is, you should have Visual Studio up and working at the moment. So we're going to go File, New Project. Then when we're in here, we should get a fair few options. So all of the things that we want to do are going to be in C#. We can have a look through all of this specific stuff, but we're just going to look in Visual C# Windows Desktop. Okay, and we are going to select a Windows Forms app, which comes under the .NET framework. We are going to name this Hello World. Okay, so this is going to give us a blank Windows form that we can do a lot of stuff with. We can resize it, we can set a whole lot of properties for it here. So these are just the properties for our individual form. I can change the name of my form so that whenever I refer to it in code, it's a different name. I'm going to call it Hello World. And that is going to change its properties there. It doesn't rename it up there, and it does not rename it there either. So for the sake of consistency, I'm going to right click there and rename it Hello World. And that'll fix everything up. Okay. So you can have a look here and see that there are many things that we can change for our form. We can change the background color. For instance, we can use system colors, or we can use web default colors, or we can use some custom colors. I'm just going to go back to our basic control for sake of consistency. Okay, we can change the text that comes up at the top left there. I'm going to make it hello. We can change the icon that comes up at the top left as well, and that's actually going to be the icon that comes up in our taskbar whenever we run the app as well. Okay, there's a million things we can change, and we can change all of these from the code as well. The way that you're going to be adding controls to your form is going to be through the toolbox. If you don't have the toolbox already up, then you need to go View, and then you can find the toolbox there. Also, I should mention, if you didn't have the properties window up either, you can find that here. If you don't have the Solution Explorer open, which is that one, you can find that there. All of our windows that we're ever going to need are all in our View menu. So make sure you've got the toolbox, and I like to have it out and pinned, just so that it's easy to work with. Go to Common Controls. We're going to add a button. So the way the code for C# forms works is whenever you double click on an element here, it will create an event for whatever the most common event for that is. So I'm going to drag a list box on here as well to prove the point. So double click on your button. That will open up the code, and it will automatically create a click event. So whenever you click the button in the application, it will run whatever code you put here. Let's double click on our list box. That's going to create a selected index changed event for our list box. So whenever you change what you've selected, that will run whatever code you put here. There's one more thing I'll show you, and double click on just the form, any part of the form really. Whenever this form loads, that's going to run this code here. So let's talk about what this all means and how the structure of C# actually works. Up here, these are our packages. These are all the things that are automatically loaded into our project so that it will work. The ones that are in a brighter color, those are the ones that are currently being used. So if I delete any of these, I won't get errors yet. But if I delete these, I definitely will. It's usually best to just leave these. There shouldn't be any reason for actually deleting them at this point. So we're just going to leave those. Occasionally we will need to add some if we want to do things like add sound to our applications, if we want to read from other files, things like that. So let's leave that for the moment. What we've got next is our namespace. This is what everything in our program goes inside of. If you have anything outside here and you're trying to code it, it's not going to work. I won't be able to do anything out there and it just simply won't work. Okay, inside of that, we have a class. So whatever you do in your programming, you have to make sure that you are inside of a class, whether that be the ones that are automatically generated for you, like this one here. So this is the class for our Hello World form. That's going to be fine. We're going to do all our work inside that. If you want to create another class, you need to make sure you do it parallel to this one. So that if we were to click here, you would be able to see public partial class Hello World, and then you would be able to see public partial class, whatever yours is, on the same level of indentation. Okay. Next, we have our functions. When you're working inside a class, you should put all of your code inside of functions like this, whether that be automatically generated event-based ones, which are incredibly handy, or you can make your own functions. You can create any functions you want to yourself. I can create a private void called count. And whatever code I put in there, if I say count up here, that will run that piece of code. That can be really handy a lot of the time, but C# Forms is made so well that quite often you won't need it. You can just run everything from the click of a button. If you have two buttons that want to do something fairly similar, that can work. That can work really well. That'll save you doing a lot of the code twice over. So it's up to you. Okay, so we have a namespace. A namespace should always have a class in it, and our class should always have functions in it. And our class should always have functions and methods in it. The difference between functions and methods is fairly arbitrary, so I'm not going to go into it right now. But you need to make sure that you're declaring your variables in this section, and you need to be doing your work inside functions. Declaring your variables there is the most helpful way to do things. You can declare variables in here that you only want to use in this function, but you can't use it outside of this function. For instance, if I declare an integer called count here, make it equal 0, I can't write count here. It won't come up for me. But IntelliSense, which is the autocomplete function, knows that I can access the count variable from here. So it will let me. Okay. Let's do what you're here for, a basic hello world. So there are a couple ways I can do it, and I'm in fact going to do them both. So I'm going to drag on a label. Label, I'm going to rename to be LBL hello. That is important syntax. That is going to help us remember what this object is. So if I need to call a label at any time, if I create any labels, I'm always going to start them with LBL, and then I'm going to put what it's used for. It's just a really easy syntax to help you and anyone who's reading your code remember what everything means, which means I'm going to go back here and change my button to btn say hello. As long as you know what it means, I could have just called that button hello, but I've already got label hello. I'm just trying to change things up a little. Okay. I'm going to change the text on the button to click me. And I'm going to change the text on my label to actually, yeah, just going to put a few underlines there just to make it look like something's going to happen. I can always change the font size of both of these. I may as well. You can find that under font. I like to have my properties sorted by alphabetical order. I find it easier. So I'm going to go bold on size 14. Doesn't matter what you go with. And for the sake of consistency, I'm going to do the same on this one. Okay. Let's go back to our code now. So when button 1 is clicked, you'll notice there that because I created this you'll notice there that because I created this click event before I changed the name of my button, it still says button 1. That can be fixed, but this is fine for the moment. Okay, I'm going to change LBL hellos. I'm going to use a dot to access a property of LBL hello. So you will see here that every property that is in the properties window can be changed here. We can change our font from here. We can change our font color and our font, but we are going to change our text. I could scroll through here and do everything, or I could just hit T, E, and then I know that's it. I'm just going to hit space and that'll finish it off for me. Equals. And then I'm going to use quotation marks. Quotation marks are always used for strings, which are collections of characters, words, essentially. So I'm going to make it say, hello world. There is one more thing I want to do here, and it's just, I want to show off something a bit cooler. So I'm going to show you guys how to create a message box. So it's actually really easy. We're just going to type in message box dot show. And then when you put the first bracket there, it will give you the tooltip that shows the various different ways that you can make this pop up. We can make a message box that just has a string. So I'm going to make it say hello world. Or if we click down here, we can see many other options. That one I'm going to ignore for the moment. I'm trying to find a different one. Okay, we can have a caption as well. Let's do that. So let's put a comma in, and then that'll move us to the caption section. I'm going to make the caption my hello world. Okay, we can also change what buttons come up on our message box. So we can type in message box buttons dot, and that'll give us all the options for our buttons. We can do okay, okay, cancel, retry, cancel, yes, no, cancel. I'm going to go okay and cancel, even though it's not going to make a difference. We can save the result of it so that we know what the user pressed, but we're not going to go into that at the moment. We can also change the message box icon. So I'm going to type in message box icon dot asterisk error exclamation. Let's go with information. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's put a semicolon at the end of our line, and let's click start. When we click start, that is going to build our project. So this is the first time we build it, and it will take a bit longer. Here we go. So if I click this, it should change the text of that label, and it'll make a message box pop up. Hello world. So that's got our information icon. It's got my hello world, which is our caption, if you remember correctly, and it's not going to let me move that. Our text and our OK and cancel buttons. Let's click OK, even though it doesn't matter which one. And you can see here that it's also made our hello world text appear there. Okay, guys, that is our core basics. That's a hello world in C# forms. I'm going to be making a few more videos coming up just to walk you guys through some steps of the assignment. So I hope you guys stay tuned, and yeah, have an awesome day. Thanks.